Right, welcome back, everybody. 2024, it's our first episode of the Pick and Pay Winemakers Table. Welcome, everybody, and welcome to Jacques Viljoen, the Cellarmaster of Boschendal. It's going to be a pretty fantastic evening. I'm very, very happy to be here, and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good stuff. Yeah, so guys, I know that you probably are all getting really, really excited for today's installment. You have been delivered 3 bottles of incredible wine from Boschendal, as well as some really lovely little canapes and some bags. Thank you very much to obviously Pick and Pay online for delivering those, and thank you very much to the Pick and Pay Wine Club as well. So yeah, we're going to have a great evening this evening. Make sure that you guys do put on your cameras. We love to see exactly what you're doing in your kitchen. I can see everybody bustling around here at the moment, getting all of their ingredients ready, and I see that also there's some really good groups over there. Some really nice to see some 4 packs being delivered as well. It's quite a nice way to spend a Thursday afternoon or evening with all your friends. So yeah, I think that really today is all about Boschendal. It's all about having some really good canapes, finding out a little bit more about wine and pairing and some food pairing. So yeah, it's going to be a good session. So welcome.
Thank you. It's going to be awesome.
Good stuff. Okay. Would you like to explain a little bit more about Boschendal, maybe a little bit about yourself and how you find yourself at Boschendal?
Yeah, perfect. So my name is Jacques Viljoen. I'm the Cellarmaster at Boschendal Wines.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you know, but there's obviously a little bit of heritage behind Boschendal. Not a little bit. It's the second oldest wine farm in South Africa, dating back to 1685. In fact, one of the wines that we're going to do is the 1685 Sauvignon Blanc. And yeah, of course, if we believe in a good story as well. And how much better to have there's quite a few stories being the second oldest wine farm in South Africa.
Definitely.
So one of the wines that we're also going to taste today is Nicholas, and that also refers back to one of the founders of Boschendal. Boschendal was initially it was 2 farms that was merged up. It was Boschendal, bush and valley. That is where the Boschendal name comes from. For those of you who don't know, that Boschendal is right on the border between Paul, Franschhoek and Stellenbosch. Literally, part of the farm is in Paul and part of the farm is in the Franschhoek Valley.
Yes.
However, saying that, these days our philosophy at Boschendal is to make classic, elegant, terroir-driven wines. So even though the estate and the farm is still on that exact premises and stuff, with some of the vineyards in the Simonsberg Mountain, a lot of our vineyards, we've also acquired some vineyards in the Elgin region, where we've got some premium Sauvignon, Chardonnay, and Pinot Noirs, and then also focusing a lot for our red wines on the Golden Triangle, specifically the Helderberg region, where we've got 140 hectares of premium red wine sites now. So yeah, super excited with a lot of different pockets and stuff to make some premium wines. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm sure everyone is also really wanting to get tasting of their wine as well, but I'm pretty sure that most people know that your Sauvignon Blanc must be nice and chilled. So make sure that is either in an ice bucket with some really cold ice, or it's been in the fridge or even freezer to get that down to what temperature do you think?
Yes, the colder the better.
Colder the better.
I think at least 10 degrees.
At least 10 degrees. Good stuff. All right, guys, as I said, I can see you in your kitchen. You're all bustling around, getting all of your equipment ready. What I do want to make sure is that you've got a kettle of boiling water ready. So if you haven't done that, grab your kettle, get a little bit of boiling water, getting water in there to boil it up. One of our first canapes this evening, what we're going to do is a vermicelli noodle, but we need to put a little bit of that water into there. So unbox your boxes that you've got. You'll see that you've got 3 individual ones, each of them referring to 3 different canapes. And how we'll work tonight is that we'll work through one to the next to the next. And obviously, when it comes to any sort of wine pairing and drinking wine, it's obviously nice to start off with something that's a little bit lighter, maybe moving on to something that's a little bit darker or heavier, and then maybe what we're doing is actually very, very different. We're actually ending off with some bubbles.
But we ending off with our Lux Nectar, which is it's still a Cup Classique. It's still on the lease for about 12 months when we started riddling and are disgorging at 15 months. But with a little bit of ORS residual sugar for the Lux Nectar specifically.
Lovely.
But still well balanced, and it's got that awesome nutty notes and stuff that we're going to talk about just now. So
good stuff. All right, guys. So yeah, let's I think the first thing we need to do is we need to open up the first wine which we're going to be trying, which is the
Sauvignon Blanc.
Sauvignon Blanc. You need to get a bottle of, there it is right there. Lovely. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I mean, When you guys are also in the kitchen, make sure that you've got all your ingredients laid out very nicely. You'll see that they've been delivered in these really nice little packets. They can just be discarded, but snip them open and get the first one ready. We're going to start off with the first canapé, which is the fresh vermicelli noodle salad. It's got some shaved carrot. It's got some shaved courgette. It's got a really nice nutty notes of some of the peanuts. We've got a really great dressing and then also some pineapple. So get all of those ingredients ready. And while we're doing that, we're going to pour a little bit of the first one, the 1685. Incredible.
1685 Sauvignon Blanc.
Amazing. So pour it. Obviously, have a good look at it. You know, quite light straw color.
Yes. So for me with Sauvignon Blanc, what's very, very important is obviously you like that light bit of almost like a lime green tinge to it. I think what's amazing with 1685 Sauvignon Blanc, it's an awesome holistic style of Sauvignon Blanc. I think there's various different styles of Sauvignons that you get, but this specific 1685 is made from the coolest areas in the Cape Coastal region.
Yeah.
So a big portion of this actually comes from Elgin. Elgin is being very, very cold. The average temperature in February is about 19 degrees Celsius, the average day and night temperatures.
That's crazy because that's middle of summer and average is 19 degrees.
19 degrees Celsius. It is an extreme area, elevation of about 500 and 550 meters above sea level for some of those Sauvignon Blanc vineyards there. And then moving over some of our vineyards in Stellenbosch, and then also a little bit of it in Durbanville. So like I said, cool Cape Coastal region. So it is a very holistic style of Sauvignon. If you're a guy that likes a little bit of that Parisini greener flavors, you're going to find it. If you like something like that, almost that guava-like flavors that's going to come through, that Durbanville area is definitely going to give you some of that as well. And obviously Stellenbosch giving some beautiful structure with a little bit of more of that Brunadella and that pithiness that you're going to get through it as well. So,
and is that also because you get those cold sea breezes onto the vineyards?
So Sauvignon Blanc for us in general is we are looking for the cooler, coldest sites that we can plant. So in South Africa, being the southern hemisphere, we are planting on south-facing slopes. The south-facing slopes means that your row direction is going to be east-west. It means that the sun moves over the top of the row, which means that you're going to get minimal amount of sunlight onto and sunburn. Exactly. You want to be as close to the sea, elevation, cool sea breezes. That's just going to preserve the low pH, preserve the nice acidity and that freshness and that zinginess to it as well.
We live in a great place, very great place. All right, cool. So guys, I just want to start off with one thing on our canapes. You'll see over here, you've got these little noodles. They're called vermicelli noodles. They're made out of rice. They are, I would say, we could call it a little bit of a Chinese noodle. Find them in your Pick and Pay. What we're going to do is we're just going to rehydrate these. We're going to basically give them a little bit of a cooking with your hot boiling water. So what I want you to do is I want you to put that into a bowl, just like that. And I want you to get your boiling water and pour that directly over it. You can put quite a lot of it into it. There we go. You can if you want to use cold water, but we'll be here until next February, probably. All right, so just leave that, and as that kind of softens up, we can start getting on a few other things. So yeah, I think that, you know, Sauvignon Blanc is something that us Cape Townians, it's in our blood to have a cold glass of Sauvignon Blanc on a summer's day. And I think that this wine it's got fruity notes, it's got that tropical notes, a little bit of lemon, a little bit of lime, something that close to my heart. I absolutely love it.
I just think, I often think so of my dad, There's only, you can let him try anything and everything. Eventually, he just moves back to Sauvignon Blanc. So, and I know there's a lot of people, experimenting with new stuff and stuff. But the beautiful thing of Sauvignon Blanc, you never tend to get tired of it. And what I love about the most, it's not a wine that's a lazy wine. Often you get wines that is very, after you've had it, you're definitely not going to go and run afterwards. But with Sauvignon Blanc, there's something about that, almost that mouth-watering acidity that you're getting and that refreshment. It's like a cup classique. It doesn't have the bubble, but it's true. It just energizes. This beautiful energy in a Sauvignon.
I totally agree with you. Me too. Me too. All right, guys. So now we're going to move over. I'm pretty sure that everyone has got their vermicelli noodles into their bowl. We're going to add a little bit of freshness. And I think that, we have a lot of fun doing these kind of food pairings for all of these Pick and Pay winemakers tables. We play around with different flavors, and I think that this Sauvignon Blanc, as we were talking about, that zestiness, that freshness, it just shouted out to me like fresh summer salad. And this is kind of what we're doing. We've got a really nice dressing, which I think is going to go nicely, but these vegetables, perfect for that. So what I want you guys to do is we're going to make a few ribbons of the two different vegetables. So the carrot, that does have some skin on it at the moment. So if you just have a peeler and just peel off the outer layer of the carrot, it is a little bit bitter, so we just like to clean it basically. You don't have to go too strong on that. There we go. And I'm just going to clean that off. There we go. And what we're going to do, instead of cutting it with a knife, we're actually going to use a peeler to just make some very thin ribbons. So I put it onto the board. There we go. And I hold it by its little tail. And then I just start peeling little nice ribbons. And you can continue to do that until you've pretty much done as much as you desire for your salad. Carrots are fantastic. It's got a little bit of sweetness, freshness. It's got crunch. And then if you want to turn it and just go a little bit faster, you end up with a lot of nice ribbons like that. There we go. Perfect. Cool. Put that aside. This is what we call in a kitchen mise en place. It's like your preparation. There we go. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing as well with the courgette. Snip the ends of the courgette, 1, 2. And we're going to do exactly the same. We're going to be doing some ribbons as well. So let's just pull the peeler over it. And even you can still keep the one that has got all of the green on it. It's nice. It just looks quite cool too. And you can just carry on going as much as you want. We had a question now for somebody saying, would you let a white wine breathe? Interesting question, because I mean, a lot of obviously people think that you should breathe most wines, but it's more probably with the red wines that you would breathe. It's
well, I do think, yeah, there's always, you know, to let a white wine, to open it up. I always believe, you know, what's always nice is just when you're going to open up a wine, if it's cork or screw cap, you're always going to pour a little bit out before you're going to serve it to your guests, just to taste that everything is right and correct. And what's happening there is that you're pulling in a little bit of air into the bottle just by doing that. So obviously, you're not going to open the bottle like a red wine 2 hours before the time. But as you open it up, it's always nice to decant or to let it breathe by just pouring out a little bit, tasting it. The thing is, the reality is a Sauvignon Blanc or any white wine for that matter goes into bottle and you seal it.
Yeah.
And you seal it, and it's been closed up. So the reason why we are swilling the wine is once again to let oxygen in at this very stage, not oxygen in before the time, but at this very stage to release the flavors, and that's where the flavors are coming from. So breathing it, pouring it into your glass is like a bit of a decanter. It doesn't need as much air as, for instance, a red wine.
Yeah.
It's always good just to open up like just 10, 15 minutes before the time.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, that was a very good question. I mean, I think that exactly that. Whenever you would always give your wine a bit of a swirl to kind of get that oxygen and get those aromas out. And so,
to release the aromas. And I must just say, this wine is really bringing out some beautiful, almost that passion fruit, granadella fruit at the moment.
Exactly.
It's just amazing. And on the palate as well, almost that texture and that weight that you're getting and that acidity once again, just cleansing the palate like a good palate cleanser, like a nice sorbet or something.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Exactly that. Good stuff, guys. So also fantastic that we're getting some questions. Please do. There is the chat box below. Ask us as many questions as you'd like. If you'd like to ask Jacques anything about the wine or myself, this is a nice interactive evening. Also know that we are running a little bit of a competition. So you please, if you can, take some photos of your creations, take your photos of your setup in your kitchen with all your friends out there. The best photo, we've got 3 lucky winners. So 3 people have the chance of of winning 300 rands worth of Smart Shopper points. So if you take a great photo of your dishes or your little family setup or your friend setup, or if you ask a fantastic question, you'll be in the running to win 300 rands worth of Smart Shopper points. So let's get going. So let's see exactly how our noodles are looking. So mine are actually looking pretty good at the moment. They've got a little bit of a bite. And hopefully we would have put ours all in at exactly the same time. So mine are looking pretty good. I've got a little colander or a sieve, which I'm just going to strain them. So we're going to strain the water out of it. And it should, with that hot water, should have actually cooked pretty well by now. All right, so this definitely is enough also for, geez, at least 2 of our little bowls. There we go. You all would have received these very cute little glasses. In France, they're called a little verrine or a terrine or a demi-tasse cup. So what we'll do is we're just going to take a small portion of these noodles and we're going to pop them into the bottom of our cup. The same way with pasta, just give it a little bit of a turn so it's got some nice height. Just, I would say, half a packet each. So just divide this into the 2 cups. There we go. And we're going to give that a little bit of a chance to cool down. We don't want to be adding too much of that just now. So you've got all of your vegetables. They've been nicely chopped. You know what would probably be a good idea, actually, guys, at home, is if you can actually run some cold water over these just to give them a bit of a shock to cool down. We don't want this to be too warm. So as you're straining it out, just put it under some cold water and that'll cool it down quite nicely. But mine have even cooled down already. But yeah, it'll be a good idea. All right. So we're going to start building our little salad, our little almost Vietnamese kind of style salad with our vegetables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start just by placing a few of those shaved carrots. We've got some of this beautiful crunchy courgette in there as well. There we go. A few more. And with anything, with any salads or any sort of canapes, we always kind of look at layering flavors, but we also look at layering a few of the textures as well. So that when we were thinking about putting this together, we decided to add these beautiful little crunchy nuts. So we've got some little roasted peanuts, which are going to go onto the top. And we're just going to sprinkle that over. That just gives it a little bit of a crunch and also a little bit of texture. And then we've got 2 last things. And this is where the kind of citrus notes that we decided to bring into it. So this dressing is a Pick and Pay dressing. It is a lime and sesame seed dressing. So if you don't have it or your store doesn't have it, basically very simple. It's got some lime juice, a little bit of olive oil, and they've also used some sesame oil in there as well. It brings out a little bit of nuttiness. All right, so that also just snip the end of that. And we're just going to dress your salad. Put a lot of it in. I like to cover it up quite nicely, and that'll give it a nice acidity. It'll work very nicely with the wine. And then the last little bit are these quite cute little dried little bit of pineapple. So these pineapple, literally what we've done is we've shaved pineapple. So you get it, you cut it, a little round of it on, and we've popped it into the oven on a very low temperature. I would say at about 60 degrees, and you leave it there probably overnight, even 40 degrees, and it'll dry out. They're quite nice and chewy. They've got some beautiful flavor. And I think that if you even smell this and you take a sip of your wine, they both really sort of complement each other with that tropical kind of, those tropical notes.
Sure.
Okay?
That's awesome.
It is awesome. Awesome. So this is more of a little bit of a garnish. You can tear it up if you'd like to, place it in there. 1, 2, 3. Some of them have a little bit of an edge on it, but that's all about garnish, and you can pop that in there. So there we go. That is our first canapé, which you guys have created. You've become quite a little master chef crew in there. I can see everyone running around. So yeah, while you guys are finishing up with that, we've got another question, which is fantastic. Do the grapes used in Boschendal wines grow on your farm? And if so, which varietals?
Okay, that's quite an elaborate question. So these days, like I said, when I started, is that with our philosophy, and the wines that we are making these days, we've realized that for us to make those classic, elegant, terroir-driven wines, we cannot only have wine or grapes on our own farm specifically. However, it is still our farms, but we've acquired a farm in Elgin and we've acquired a farm in the Helderberg specifically with land there. So even though it's not on the Boschendal premises anymore, it is still a farm in different areas. And like I said, so just for those of you who does not know what terroir means, is terroir is everything that's got to do with growing of the grapes. In other words, it is from the soil. We've got a lot of that decomposed granite soils and a lot of that shale soils available to us on the red wine side, and a lot of that Koa Bokkenveld shales in the Elgin
Yes.
region specifically. Okay, then obviously the aspect, the height above sea level for different varietals. For instance, for Sauvignon Blanc, like we said, we like our south-facing slopes. So once again, we would source our vineyards, or we would plant our vineyards on the south-facing slopes. For our Cabernets and stuff like that, we are looking for slightly warmer slopes, but still with elevation.
Yeah.
To answer the question on what varietals we've got, so we do a lot of focus on our Chardonnay and our Pinot Noirs. We do Sauvignon and Chenin Blanc in the 1685 range. And then, of course, we focus quite heavily on the Bordeaux varietals, and the 5-way Bordeaux split would be Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, Malbec. What did I miss now? Merlot. I think I missed Merlot there. So the 5-way split there. And then, of course, we also do Syrah. So Syrah for us is also very close to our heart. And I can get to that just now when I get to Nicholas, why we have Syrah, because the initial estate blend used to be Cabernet Syrah, which is a New World style of blend.
Amazing. Yeah, exactly. So guys, I would imagine that you all probably have caught up and you've placed your little salads inside your verrine. Please do take photos of it. We'd love to see exactly what you're doing. Hold them up so you can see them in the camera. Please do take photos. As I said, you do stand a chance of winning 300 Rands worth of Smart Shopper points if you are the chosen one and your little verrine looks amazing. So I'm going to hand this over to Jacques. He's going to do a little bit of a taste. And while he does that, you guys can do it too. I think really when it comes to this wine pairing, it's nice to obviously take a sip, swirl it around in your mouth, let it coat your palate, and then take a little bit of a mouthful of that salad. Both fresh, both vibrant. They kind of work quite nicely with that lime and sesame.
I think that's the beauty of it as well, is that lime and sesame, once again, that freshness that's in that oiliness. And wine is also, it's not only about what you smell, but the texture that nuttiness brings forward to it as well. Just gives it nice texture to the wine, and it just complements each other. And once again, why are we pairing wine and food? Is, you know, on the one side, the Sauvignon Blanc's acidity is just opening up the taste buds again to retaste on the food. And then once again, you just get those flavors that just complements each other. Yeah,
exactly. But I mean, I think that with the Sauvignon Blanc, it is a very versatile wine to pair stuff with, and food, and you really can just try anything. And I think that's what wine pairing and food pairing is all about. It's about just experimenting, trying new things. If you'd like to do something different in there, you'd like to add some chicken, or if you'd like to add some fish, you can add some tuna. Yeah, we'd be really, really good with that. Very, very good. Yeah, why not? Try it out, and then just buy a few different bottles of wine and see which one you like doing it with. So one will work. Obviously, I think a Sauvignon Blanc would work particularly well with tuna. That minerality of the tuna and the minerality, obviously, of the Sauvignon Blanc would work quite well. But try things out. Try a Chenin, try a Chardonnay, try a red. You know, why not?
I think what would be awesome, just to, once again, in the 1685 range, we also get the 1685 Chardonnay and the 1685 Chenin, where the Chardonnay is going to have a little bit more of that white pear minerality. So there's going to be a minerality that's going to tie in quite nicely. And Chenin Blanc, being planted more on west-facing slopes, are going to give you actually a lot of this pineapple-like flavors, but also with lots of stone fruit. So once again, just different folks, different strokes, but it just works really well.
Awesome. Good stuff. We've got another question. Love the questions coming in. Have you ever considered a Blanc Fumé component to the Sauvignon Blanc? That's quite a question there, my friend.
Sure.
Obviously, somebody knows a little bit about their wine.
Okay, so just to say that, so if you want to try something like a Blanc Fumé for us, for Boschendal itself, you can actually taste our appellation Elgin Sauvignon Blanc, which is 100% from the Elgin region, 550 meters above sea level, with a little bit of a wood component to it, which would make it a Blanc Fumé at the end of the day. So in this Sauvignon Blanc specifically, the focus for the 1685 is to really almost hit all the sweet spots of Sauvignon Blanc that any Sauvignon Blanc drinker would find something that's absolutely awesome in this wine.
Yeah.
Like I said, if it's the tropical notes, or if it's the greener flavors, or if it's the minerality side of things, you're going to find it in this specific Sauvignon.
Good stuff. All right, guys, that is a lot of information about Sauvignon Blancs. Blanc Fumé, I don't think anyone even really, a lot of people don't know what Blanc Fumé is.
Yeah, so it's basically Sauvignon Blanc that was fermented and aged in wood, you
Yeah.
know, so that's the whole reasoning behind it. What we say, however, is that, you know, so if you had to taste our appellation Algan Sauvignon,
Yeah.
it is partially fermented in wood,
Yes.
and a big portion of it is actually foudre, bigger casks,
Yeah.
where we want the wood to add that almost that oxidative style of Sauvignon Blanc making, where it adds to the texture of the palate.
Yeah.
You won't pick it up as much of as a
Yeah.
smokiness, as a
It's just
almost
more of
like
a
a black currant. It
roundedness.
just gives it a little bit of a
Yeah.
roundness to
Yeah.
it. But if you want something that's slightly more wooded, that's going to give you a little bit more of a smoky or almost that black currant feel. So there's different styles, you know. So I love it, you know.
Good stuff. All right. We've done with the Sauvignon Blanc. We're going to be moving on to one of the nation's most famous, and I would say probably one of the most popular red wines at the moment, the Nicholas.
Yay.
Good stuff. All right. So let's taste it a little bit. We've got a separate glass over there. Beautiful, beautiful glasses, by the way. These are really, really ornate, thin, beautiful glasses. I love drinking wine out of these. And let's move on, obviously, to the Boschendal Nicholas. So you said, obviously, Nicholas there's a story behind that. It was one of the original founders of Boschendal.
Yeah, it was one of the original founders. In fact, he was actually a viticulturist. Also, we're paying a bit of homage to Nicolas de Lanoy with this Nicholas range. Jean Lalonde, so you will also know, so Boschendal being the second oldest wine farm, we're also the second oldest Cap Classique producer in South Africa, where one of our Blanc de Blancs is the Jean Lalonde. So Jean Lalonde and Nicolas de Lanoy, they were the two founders that actually merged together, and it became Boschendal. But today, if you come to Boschendal, there's a Nicholas facility, which used to be the old sherry cellar. And for us, it's just, it's awesome. As it was a man of the land, he loved the, apparently was quite a naughty guy as well, you know, always a little bit of a joke here and there. So, and then the Nicholas is a full-on Bordeaux style blend driven by Cabernet Sauvignon. However, part of the success story is just referring back to a non-conventional blend of estate blend of Boschendal, using a little bit of Syrah in this Bordeaux blend, which makes it non-conventional, just to make it nice and soft and palatable.
Yeah.
Because these days, classic elegance, drinkability. I often look at our French consultant where he says it's all about the drinkability of the wine, and that's
100%.
what we were looking for.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, when you say you're French consultant, I lived in France for quite a few years, and I found when I first went to France, I was quite blown away by the different style of wine in France than South Africa. Quite light and drinkable and easy and quite, you know, kind of easy to drink wines. And I know that certainly there is a bit of a movement, maybe where, and you can probably enlighten on this a little bit more, about wines in South Africa becoming a little bit more drinkable, becoming a little bit more sort of classic and a little bit smoother, a little bit more rounded.
Yes, stylistically, at Boschendal, we've decided to steer the ship more on that European French style of wine, you know. So I often say that South Africa's got the best of both worlds. We've got one foot in the old world and one foot in the new world, saying that, you know, if we want to have concentration and extraction, we can get it because we've got so many various different microclimates. But, you know, so we're close to the sea. We've got great that coolness coming through. Our main focus is in the Helderberg Stellenbosch specifically with elevation. With that elevation, you're getting good radiation on the grapes itself, which gives you good tannins and amazing color, but with natural low pH and a natural acidity. And that's what you're looking for. It gives the wine legs, it gives it ageability, and it gives it the finesse, a fine tannin.
Yes.
Back in the days, we used to make like bomb squad wine. But, you know, I know, you know, so we can do it. You know, we can over extract and we can make massive big wines. It's awesome. But these days, we just say is that we want that drinkability. I don't just want one glass. I want to enjoy this bottle of wine, and it must just have that athlete to it, you know, where it's really just going to.
And this is really why it's become so popular. I mean, everybody that I speak to will always mention the Nicholas. It's like, it's one of those, it's in that luxury range, but it's also in that range that it isn't unaffordable, and it's also an absolutely exquisite wine.
I would like to use the words affordable luxury. That is exactly what it is, you know. So this actually equips us to really focus our energy onto the Helderberg, onto Stellenbosch specifically, to really, by doing this wine, we can manage to really uphold and uplift vineyards there and to secure vineyards for the future.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
fantastic. All right. So with a beautiful wine, we're going to be creating a beautiful canapé as well. The next one which we've got is using some really nicely cured beef. It's called Bresaola. It's Italian kind of style cured beef. We've got some goat's cheese. We've got a little bit of sesame seeds, some sour cherry and beetroot preserve, which is quite interesting as well. So what we'll do is we're going to be creating a little roulade. All these flavors, I think, work quite well, but obviously I'm going to give them to the expert Cellarmaster, and we can basically see exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to move this up the way quickly. So as mentioned, we've got this beef Bresaola. You'll have 2 of these each, just in case one of them decides to break, or you can just throw the other one in your mouth. We're going to place that onto our board. Very, very simple, just like that. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to slice probably about 3/4 of it, discarding that for another little snack, which I'll give to Jacques as a little snackaroo. There we go. Now, I want you to pick it up in your hands, just like that, and I want you to roll a cylinder around your finger. Doesn't have to be particularly large. I would say probably about like that. If anyone can see, it's going to hold it still so you can see. So there we go. Pretty much like a little cylinder like that. Clamp it tight with your fingers, squeezing it in so it creates that little cylinder around your finger. Pretty much exactly the same width as your finger, just like that. Okay, there we go. Put it down so you can see. There we go. Just around your finger. So it stays really nicely. And what we'll do is we're just going to place that on a board just like that. Okay, now we've got some goat's cheese. One of my favorite cheeses, because I think that it's got a really good creaminess. It's got a slight acidity to it. And obviously it works particularly well as a little bit of a mousse. Simply get your log of goat's cheese and you just whip it up until it becomes nice and soft. So you're going to get your little cylinder, your little piping bag of goat's cheese, and just pipe it right into the middle. So it goes around and it just pops out the top. There we go. Just like that. Use the whole thing right to the top. There we go. Simple. Everyone being able to do that. I'm going to give you a little bit of time if you want to. And then we've got a few different elements that are going to go onto it. As I said, we've got a really nice sour cherry and beetroot preserve. So Pick n Pay sell an amazing little beetroot preserve. We've just added a few little sour cherries to it because I think really this wine has got some really good dark cherry kind of notes that come out of it.
Oh, no, perfect. This is exactly it. You know, as you mentioned, sour cherry is exactly it. You know, so there's just this, once again, when you taste this wine, it's alive. You know, it's vibrant. You know, you can taste this wine. It's really, it's a living product that you're drinking at the moment. And then obviously driven by Cabernet Sauvignon, which is going to give you that pencil shaving, wet tobacco, your blueberry-like flavors. But your Merlot and your Malbec is really going to add to that cherry, sour cherry, and almost that core of fruit that you want on the palate itself.
Yeah, agree. Definitely. All right. So we do have some vegetarians as well, and we have not forgotten about you either. So you'll see also you've got this courgette, and you're thinking, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? Basically, very similar to what we did before. We're going to slice off the ends, and we're also going to make a little roulade for you, exactly like we've done with that, except we're going to be using this. So similarly, you can either do a little bit of a thicker peel on your courgette. So I would go right down to the core if you can. Just using your peeler exactly the same way as we've done before. Just make sure it's a little bit thicker if you can. And we're also going to do a very similar thing. Maybe I was going to ask for a little another tub of goat's cheese, and I'll pop this one in there as well. All right. So now you've got all of those on your desk, exactly the same like this. We're also just going to roll it around your finger to create exactly what we did with the meat. We're going to be doing exactly the same with the courgette. So you've created these little ones. There we go. Exactly the same. And if it does pop open, just give it a little squeeze closed. There we go. And we're going to fill that up exactly the same way as we've done with the meat. Exactly the same. All right. So now we're going to move on to using our beetroot preserve, and we're going to pop that on sour cherry beetroot preserve right on top. Just a little dollop. If we're going to go up, there we go, right on top. Magic. There we go. We're going to add a very, very fine little sprinkling, if you want, of the toasted sesame seeds. That just gives it a little bit of some nutty notes. Pop that on top. And then to end off, some dark chocolate. And people might think, oh my goodness, this is a bit odd to adding chocolate to it. But it's dark chocolate. It'll add quite a nice little differentiator on it. And we're just going to grate with the grater just a small amount of dark chocolate straight over it. Well, you'll be very surprised.
Often what we say is with dark chocolate specifically, is if you really want to have the texture of the tannin, a good ripe tannin and an awesome red wine, you can relate to 80% dark chocolate. If you really want to feel, when we taste in the vineyards to decide, when you've got like tannin ripeness, the tannin almost becomes chalky on your palate, and the exact same feel that you're going to get if you take an 80% dark chocolate and you taste that fineness and almost that texture that you're getting, that is what you're supposed to taste in a red wine. And of course, the red wine with the tannins of the red wine also works with the proteins of the goat cheese and of the meat specifically. And it just, once again, it's chemistry in your mouth. So
chemistry in your mouth. Well, let's give it a little bit of a go. I'm going to hand this over to you. You can pop that into your mouth.
Yes, awesome.
So the same thing, guys, as I mentioned before, if you do have your courgette, also just pipe a nice little dollop of that cream cheese right into the middle of your courgette ribbons, just to create those little cylinders. There we go. And there's also perfect with a little bit of the preserve right on top. One over there, another one over there, and a few little sesame seeds on top, and a away. Really, really good. So please do take photos. I'd love to see exactly what you're doing. How cute are those, eh? And these are kind of a perfect little canapé starter for any of your dinner parties. Open a bottle of wine, whether it's a white wine or a red wine. This would work perfectly with a white wine as well. Nice acidity would cut through the creaminess of the goat's cheese. Give one of these a whirl.
Sure.
Nice. Quite fun, quite easy to do. All ingredients available at Pick and Pay.
Lekker.
Very good. I love that goat's cheese with the wine, because you have that creaminess in your mouth. You take a sip. Slight acidity and tannins kind of just clean it out. It's lovely.
I just think once again that the proteins and the tannins just binds and just softens it up so nicely. And it just that acidity once again just cuts through that creaminess. Yes, cheers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's really awesome.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed that. And I hope that you guys are enjoying it as well. Please, as I said, take photos. I really want to see what you guys are doing in your kitchens and what are your creations that you are making as well. Yeah, but this wine for me, it's a staple. It's something that for me, it will always live in my cupboard. We'll always have bottles of this. It's unbelievable.
Listen, I remember the day when we launched this wine in 2018. We launched the 2016 vintage, and it's always been super awesome. I remember bottling an unfiltered 2019 for our CEO, Tim Hutchinson, at that stage out of the tank, because I just said, this is direction. This is what we want. This is where we're going to go.
So you started at Boschendal, and did you create one of the first?
So I blended the first one.
Okay.
I blended the first one, but however, I wasn't there in the 2016 vintage. So I received the barrels at that stage. And then since then, the direction has changed slightly for Nicholas specifically, where it's driven by Cabernet. It's like Bordeaux is the driver of this blend, the Bordeaux varietals, I should say.
But you blended the first one, and so that's when it was launched. And was there the plan to create a specific wine that kind of fitted into that mold, or did you kind of come across it to go, oh my word, this is working, this is amazing?
That's it. So I must just say, I'm super, super blessed where I'm working at the moment. It's amazing. So my first visit ever as a student was at Boschendal. And I still remember the winemaker at that stage was JC Becker.
Yeah, yeah.
And I still looked, as a student, I looked at him and I said, yes, wouldn't it be amazing to actually work here one day? As a student in my first year. And then at the same time, I was dating Hempie's de Tooy's daughter, who was at Alto. So I worked a lot in the Helderberg region. I said, wouldn't it be amazing to make wine in the Helderberg? This would be it. And it's just crazy how things just married up at the end of the day. I'm at Boschendal. Our premium red vineyards is in the Helderberg specifically. And creating this, I've always had this dream. I've always had this passion for these red varietals, specifically Cabernet Sauvignon and wines that's driven by Cabernet Sauvignon.
Well, you've done an incredible job. South Africa thanks you for that. I can tell you that. They really do.
Thank you.
All right, good stuff. And so, as I said, when we do various different pairings, often you end off with something slightly sweeter, like if you're having a meal, this is more of a dessert. And often people wouldn't think of kind of ending off with a bubbly, but this isn't any old bubbly. This is more of a nectar style bubbly, a category that is absolutely exploding worldwide, let alone in South Africa.
This category is booming. It is. I remember, I think last year I went to Winex Joburg, and I was just I remember that I just couldn't open enough of these bottles. People were just all over the show. And I think, once again, what is beautiful about our Lux Nectar, it's 100% made in the Cup Classique style. This is 60% Chardonnay, 40% Pinot Noir, 12 months on the lees. So once again, why 12 months on the lees with a secondary fermentation? It just, once again, it gives you that natural mouthfeel, that biscotti feel coming through on the palate as well. But then, of course, with those cool climate vineyards, specifically from Elgin and the high-lying Stellenbosch regions, it actually gives you a natural acidity, very low pH. And that natural acidity, which is quite high, but balanced out with the RS of 40 grams per liter, which is very high, but it is just amazing. It's just how it works on the palate. It's awesome.
I know.
I have to taste it too.
Definitely will taste it. But definitely, I think that a lot of people back in the day found, there was only that category of sweet, but now this nectar category, it's not overpoweringly sweet. I mean, there's certainly that there is sugar added to it, but it's not overpoweringly sweet. It doesn't make you feel like there's too much sugar into it. And I think, surprisingly, it also works particularly well with food because it is balanced. It's not overly sweet. It's not overly acidic. It's that nice balance between something that's got a little bit more sugar. It's a little bit more inviting for people maybe who are wanting to try an MCC, and it's kind of like an entry into what wine can be and how it goes through the different passes. So it's a fantastic category. It's working particularly well, and the balance of it is phenomenal.
I think that's the thing. So when we realized there's a gap in the market specifically for this, I was a little bit, won't the sugar be out of balance and stuff? And I must just say, we've put so much effort and so much research and so many vertical tastings of various different products on the market specifically. We done Coetzee, who's our Cup Classique winemaker.
Yes, I met him. Lovely.
He's an awesome person. Of course, we get the ladies for the Cup Classique because the attention to detail is there. Imagine, with Cup Classique, you need to have the attention to detail. And so I must just say, for me, it's all about the balance. That's what it's about. Just have a look at that fine bubble that's coming up at the moment. It's incredible. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think that's also a big differentiator when you're getting a sparkling wine versus an MCC. It's that fine mousse, that fine bubble that comes up. The mouthfeel that you get from drinking an MCC, very different from a sparkling wine where it's carbonated, very coarse, and the bubbles are big, and it doesn't have that smooth sort of moussey mouthfeel.
I think once again that's also the magic of doing the 12-month bottle aging. Really that lees just rounding off almost that protein is using fine sandpaper. Just to finish off the mousse or the bubble, just to make it really integrated with good texture.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure that you guys are absolutely loving this. We really are as well. So we decided to pair this with something on the little bit of the dessert side, because it's always nice to end off with something slightly sweet. You got these really nice almond biscotti. We've created this, which is quite nice. What it is it's a little lemon curd. Very, very simple for you guys to do at home. It's egg, it's a little bit of sugar, and you cook it down basically with some lemon juice, and it thickens, the egg naturally thickens it quite nicely. If you want to make it even thicker, you can add a small amount of some cornstarch into there to thicken it up. But basically what we've done is we've done that, and I think that the notes, obviously, of the nectar and the citrusness would work quite nicely. The biscotti, it has a little bit of yeastiness, a little bit of sweetness. So hopefully it'll work really, really nicely. So there we go. I'm just going to pop that on. You can do a little drizzle if you'd like to. You can do a few dollops. I think I'm just going to do a few drizzles left, right, and center on there, just to add a little bit of zinginess, a little bit of the some nice lemon notes. So we've got two components which we're going to add here now. One is to add a little bit of nuttiness, and one which is quite interesting is this, which is salt. It looks slightly pink, and what we've done is we've actually created a pink champagne salt. Very, very different, but not out of the blue, just ordinary. What we've done is all you do is we've got some Moldan salt, that kind of coarse sea salt. We've put it onto a baking tray. We've poured a small amount of pink champagne, pink bubbly over it, and we've dehydrated it. Same thing, we put it into the oven at about 60 degrees, so it all dries out, and that salt actually takes on not only the pink characteristics of the bubbly, but also a little bit of that, the bubbly notes as well.
Geez, I was worried about that question just now. I'm like, champagne salt. What's happening here? I don't know. I'm wondering. I won't be able to answer that.
Oh, goodness. All right, so open up your little packets of the toasted coconut here. There we go. And just give that a little bit of a mound on each of those. So toasted coconut, love it. It's got a lot of really good nutty notes. It works particularly well, I think, with this as well, with the yeastiness of the biscotti. And then just add a small amount of the salt on top. You don't go crazy at all. I reckon 1 or 2 small little bits of the salt. Don't go crazy. It's just to add a slight minerality. And I think that when you are having a pairing which is sweet and sweet and sweet on sweet, it's nice to kind of break through that and have a little bit of like minerality, a small little bit of saltiness to it, just to give it a bit of, I don't know, bit of body, basically. I love salt anyway, whatever the fact. There we go.
Amazing. My mom always said, if you eat sweet, you need to have a little bit of salt in it.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly. So hope you guys have worked that out. Very, very simple. You've got your biscotti, a small amount of the lemon curd on top, drizzle it with or sprinkle a little bit of the coconut on top, and a small amount of that salt. It does kind of, I don't know, uplift it slightly. So have a sip the same way that we're doing. Cheers.
Cheers.
There we go. Have a sip. Lovely mouthfeel, small little bubbles.
Yes. Yeah, John. Very nice.
Very nice.
Wow.
That lemon curd is quite sharp. It's got quite sweetness to it. And then you've got the nuttiness, the yeastiness, which comes through. Have another sip. I think that works really well. It really does. The toasted coconut is cool, isn't it?
Yeah. Love it.
Very, very good. All right, guys, please do take some photos. We are going to run our competition. There are people in the background who are going to be choosing the winners. And definitely, if you've posted a really good photo or if you asked a really good question, you are in line of winning that. Do use the hashtags PNP Wine Club as well as the hashtag Boschendal, and you'll be in line to do that. So yeah, I mean, as I said to you, this category, it's beyond. So I think that over and above the fact that MCC, champagne, bubbly is exploding around the world, there's obviously quite a bit of a shortage apparently in France of that. But this, I know that I've spoken to a lot of winemakers that they say this category is just, it's going through the roof.
It's a major focus for us. So what we've seen now is that in the last few years, people initially, if you think about when we grew up, people were always like, oh, it's New Year, Happy New Year, boom, or for a birthday, you would pop. Now people are like, you do dinners on Kapasik, it doesn't matter. Have it with breakfast, have it with a picnic, have it with lunch.
Exactly.
evenings. So that's amazing, and that we've found that people are really looking for stuff that, same like with Sauvignon Blanc, rejuvenates, almost like give energy to you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So people are loving the Cup C category,
Yeah,
and
I know.
it's exploding for us.
I know. Well, I think we're lucky in South Africa. I think we're lucky that we have such incredible MCCs. We did a tasting with one of our French friends, and we had a very interesting, actually. We had a bottle of French champagne, we had a bottle of MCC, but then we also had a bottle of, I don't even know what they call it, I suppose, Method Champenoise from England.
Yeah.
And that English one was incredible, absolutely incredible, because apparently they share the same, very, very similar terroir in France as they do in the specific area in England.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think one of the challenges that and almost like one of the pros of South Africa as well is that in France they are definitely dealing with some challenges with global warming. You know, it's almost like reality. I've just been to the Burgundy area where it was quite hot before they've actually harvested, which was actually unusual. But once again, with UK or with, but let's just talk South Africa specifically, the blessing is that even though the South African wine growing area is very, very unique and very small on the whole of Africa, but we've got the blessing that we are right. We've got, you know, on that Falls Bay area, right around the coast, we've got elevation, we've got various different microclimates. Somebody asked me the other day, you know, why aren't we like Bordeaux, you know, one cultivar? I said, because we are so blessed. We've got south-facing slopes, we've got east-facing slopes. The microclimates is insane. And then we've got that cooling sea wind coming in.
That's
always Bordeaux is pretty flat, you know. So and I think that is the blessing, and we must use that to play with the big players now, is that we can put a product out there that we can be proud of because of our soils and because of our super climate that we've got.
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally agree. And I think that, you know, when it comes to bubbly, you know, as you said, it's all about the fact that it changed. I think it probably changed in COVID, where people were, you know, it was something that it was always about a celebration. It was always about, right, we only drink bubbly when we go out. We only drink bubbly when we go to a restaurant or a celebration. And then COVID happened and everyone was sitting at home and they had bubbly and they were like, oh my God, I can drink bubbly at home in the morning, in the evening. I can use it as a thing. And I think that it was pretty much around that time, I think, that there was a bit of a shift.
It's actually exactly that time. I didn't want to mention the word COVID, but exactly, it was right after COVID. It was almost like a celebration that we got through it. So no, it's awesome, and it's you're exactly right. You know, so people are and that it is an amazing product. Once again, like I said, I love it because it's not a lazy wine. You can have it now, and you can go out and you feel good.
Yeah,
feel good.
Exactly. And so, in terms of your bubblies that you do obviously the nectar. You do what you got, a rosé or
yes. So our ranges, obviously we've got the Lux nectar.
Yes.
And we do the Brut non-vintage, and we do the Brut non-vintage rosé.
Yes.
Which is by far our biggest portion of it.
Yeah.
But then we do a Grand Cuvée. The Grand Cuvée is there's certain, it only comes from this 100% Elgin region. It comes 100% from our own farm in Elgin specifically. It's basically a 50-50 Chardonnay Pinot Noir blend.
Yeah.
The main thing there is that we stay with a Grand Cuvée. It needs to stay for a minimum of 3 years, on the lease. Before we would taste it as well, and then we would start doing the riddling if needs be. If we find that the lease aging is too much or too little, we would leave it a little bit longer on its side, and then we would start riddle it, and then obviously and keep it in the surpoir position, so less of that lease aging before we would then even decide to disgorge. So that is our Grand Cuvée, and then of course we do the Jean Lalonde, and the Jean Lalonde also was one of the French Huguenots and one of the founders. And that's our 100% blanc to blanc, the best 2,000 liters, 100% Chardonnay that we do, which is amazing. And there it is up to 10 years on the lease.
Wow.
So totally different, more that, you know, almost.
How many bottles are made of those?
Oh, it's 2,000 liters. So 3,000 liters would be 4,000 bottles. So what, 3,500 bottles that we do. So not a lot.
If you get your hands.
And I always laugh at my wife because, you know, I've got some wines, and it's, you know, the Jean Lalonde is it's more on the higher price point.
Sure.
And then I would get to the house and I'm like, was there half a bottle of Jean? No, she had some friends over. I said, no, but that's why there's certain wines depending on what we're gonna do.
You need to do it in
Not just
categories.
put a glass of Jean along. So
Oh, goodness. Great, guys. So somebody is asking, where do we post our photos? Post it to any social media platform that you'd like. Post it to Instagram or Facebook, but please do use that hashtag PNP Wine Club as well as the hashtag Boschendal. That would be very, very good. If you do that, you do stand a chance of winning those, chance of 300 rands worth of Smart Shopper points. We've got questions coming up everywhere, which is fantastic. You guys have probably been the most interactive group we've ever had. So quick question before we end off, which food items balance the acidity of white wine? That is a very, very good question. So look, I think when it comes to food pairing, that there's two ways of dealing with it. You either can kind of have something that stops the acidity, or something that kind of rounds out the acidity. So a perfect example of that would be something like this goat's cheese. So if something's quite acidic, you might want something which is kind of softer, like a goat's cheese, like a creamy sauce. So if something like a pasta with a creamy sauce works particularly well with something that's acidic, or the other way around, sometimes it also works if something else is quite acidic as well. So they both kind of sit together and they work the way up. So if you've got, let's say, an oyster with something like some pomegranate or some grapefruit or some citrus things, both of those work quite well together as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to kind of get rid of that acidity, because sometimes you want to celebrate that acidity. So it's nice to kind of have two acidic items that work quite well together. And then similarly, if you want to have something which kind of cuts through that acidity, something which is creamy, anything that's creamy, camembert, goat's cheese, a cream-based sauce or something. All right, another one. We've got these great questions. Why has the Blanc bottle got bigger on the top? How did you open it? Oh, this. Basically, it's a normal cork inside there. Basically, it's a normal cork. There's a cork inside there. You open up with a cork.
Open up with a corkscrew, and this is the proprietor's bottles, the 1685. It's that old school Mondavi style bottle. So this is specifically made for Boschendal. It actually has got a great story to it. So one of our workers way back in the day actually carved one of these bottles out of a piece of wood and gave it to the CEO at that stage, and that became the mold for the 1685 bottle. So it's a really old school Burgundian style bottle. Saying that, these type of bottles are used very often for Sauvignon Blancs as well.
Okay, yeah.
Not with the lip specifically, but the shape of the bottle.
And so are there many other wineries that use that lip, or is that specific to Boschendal?
That's very specific to Boschendal. So that's very specific to Boschendal. And that's actually one of the, how you spot it on a shelf as well. So
it's good to have a differentiator. All right, guys, we do have some winners for this evening. People who've taken the best photos, the people who've asked the best questions. I'm gonna give this to you. My eyes aren't particularly good, and I can see that this writing on the screen is very, very small. But we've got 3 winners. Jacques, do you want to read out the winners? We've got 3 of them.
Yeah, we've got Claire Beckman, and we've got Sarah Atchison. Sorry, I'm Afrikaans. My English is very limited. And then Stuart Akers.
Yeah, there we go. So congratulations, guys. 300 rands worth of Smart Shopper points are going to be put onto your Smart Shopper card, which you can use at any of the Pick n Pay stores online or in store. But everybody is a winner tonight. Everybody's a winner. Everyone gets everything. So basically, apart from the fact that you have had an incredible evening with 3 wines that also are valued way beyond whatever's been charged for this evening, you also get 25% off these 3 wines if you'd like to go buy them again in store. That will be loaded onto your Smart Shopper card. So you just need to go in store and swipe that Smart Shopper card. If you'd like to go online and purchase some more wine, you also have a voucher here, which you just need to use the voucher code, which is Boschendal 100, and you will get 100 rand off your next purchase, which will be online and on ASAP as well. But I'm pretty sure that you know that you've become obviously a wine club member. There are incredible deals that you get every single month. Obviously, 20% off a selected 10 wines at Pick and Pay, as well as obviously free delivery of 6 wines or more. So we are really spoiling you. We really, really are. We've spoiled you this evening to have Jacques here. Thank you, Jacques. It's been an incredible experience chatting to you. You are an absolute wealth of knowledge. I wish that we could have spent another hour with you.
John, thank you very much. Same, vice versa. Thank you very much. I'm spoiled to be here, to have this wonderful meal with you, and awesome wine, good company. Yeah. And awesome, guys. Thank you for listening to me as well. So
good stuff. Thank you very much. And thank you to Pick and Pay Wine Club for doing this. And thank you again to Pick and Pay Online for delivering those boxes as well. We do have more installments every single month. I think the next one is Ken Forrester, so do look out for that as well. That's in the month of April, and we will see you again shortly. We do also have a Pick and Pay Wine Festival that's happening in Cape Town on the 27th and the 28th of April, so look out for that on the Facebook. Look out that for online as well. That's a great festival. We've got over 50 different wine farms, food, wine, great entertainment. And we'll hopefully see you there as well. So thank you very much, Jacques. Thank you, you guys. Thank you to Pick and Pay. And we will see you next time in April.
Thank you.